I want you to stop for a moment. I want you to think about the happiest day you can imagine. The kind of day you have pictured in your mind long before it arrives. The details, the people, the particular warmth of being surrounded by everyone who loves you, celebrating something that has taken everything you had to build. Now I want you to imagine finding out, in the middle of that day, that 2 of the people in that room had been lying to your face for 7 months. My name is Rebecca. I was 34 years old, 8 months pregnant with my first child, a daughter we had already named, whose room I had painted myself, whose tiny clothes I had folded and refolded with the particular reverence of someone who cannot quite believe this is real. My baby shower was on a Saturday in April, 43 people. My mother had organized it, spent weeks on the details, the flowers, the food, the games that make everyone laugh. My husband Daniel had offered to help, which I had found touching. My best friend of 16 years, Claire, had offered to co-host, which I had found completely natural. Claire and I had been friends since we were 18. The kind of friendship that becomes part of your identity, like so woven into who you are that you stop noticing the seams. She had been my maid of honor. She was going to be my daughter's godmother. We spoke every day. I told her things I told no one else. I thought I knew her completely. I thought I knew Daniel completely. I was wrong about both of them. At the same time, for 7 months. The shower was perfect for approximately 2 hours. My mother had outdone herself. There were flowers everywhere, the soft yellow and white I had asked for. The food was beautiful. People I loved were in every corner of the room, laughing, eating, holding tiny things they had bought for a baby they hadn't met yet. I was happy, genuinely, completely, overwhelmingly happy. And then I went to the bathroom. I was in there perhaps 4 minutes. The particular 4 minutes that I have since come to understand changed the entire shape of my life. When I came out, I was walking down the hallway back toward the main room, and the door to the small study, Daniel's study, the one with the frosted glass panel, was not quite closed. I heard voices. 2 voices, very quiet, the particular quiet of people who believe they cannot be heard. Daniel's voice and Claire's. I stood in that hallway for a moment, not moving, not breathing in the way you stop breathing, when your body understands something before your mind does. And then I heard 4 words spoken by my husband, in a voice I had never heard him use, the same soft, unguarded voice. That means something is being said that was never meant to reach you. I can't keep doing this. In Claire's voice, low, urgent, after the baby. We agreed, after the baby. I stood in that hallway with one hand on the wall and the other on my stomach, on my daughter, and I felt the floor of the world disappear. If something in you just broke, stay with me. Subscribe to this channel right now, because what I did in that hallway, and what happened in the weeks and months that followed, is something I have never told anyone the complete version of. Until today, I did not open that door. I straightened up. I took 3 slow breaths. I walked back into the room full of people who loved me, and I smiled for 2 more hours. 2 more hours. I want you to understand what that means. 2 more hours of opening gifts and reading cards and laughing at the right moments, and thanking people for coming and holding tiny yellow onesies up for photographs, while 43 people watched me be happy, while my husband circulated through the room with his easy charm, refilling glasses, making people laugh, being, to every person present, the picture of an excited, devoted father-to-be, while my best friend of 16 years arranged food, on platters and hugged guests, and at one point stood beside me with her arm around my shoulders and said, "You deserve every bit of this." I smiled at her. Inside, I was somewhere else entirely. The guests left by 5 p.m. My mother stayed to help clean up. Daniel was present, helpful, normal in every way that a person can perform normalcy when they have had practice. I watched him. I had known this man for 11 years, married him for 6. I knew the way he moved through a room, the particular set of his shoulders when he was uncomfortable, the almost imperceptible shift in his eyes when he was managing something internally. He was managing something. I said nothing that evening. I helped my mother finish cleaning. I said goodbye. I had a bath. I went to bed. Daniel fell asleep quickly, the deep, even sleep of someone whose conscience has apparently made its own accommodations. I lay beside him and looked at the ceiling for a long time. And I made a decision. Was not going to react from shock. I was not going to confront him that night, or the next morning, or from a place of raw, unprocessed pain. I was 8 months pregnant. I had a daughter coming into the world in 4 weeks, and I was going to bring her into the most stable version of whatever came. Next, not the most emotional one. I gave myself 1 week. In that week, I did 3 things. I called my OB and told her I was experiencing significant stress and needed to discuss a birth plan that accounted for the possibility of single parenthood. She was calm, professional, and kind in a way that made me cry in the parking lot afterward. I called a lawyer, not to file anything, just to understand, to know what I was entitled to, what the process looked like, what my position was. Knowledge, I had decided, was the only thing that made the ground feel solid. And I called my sister, the one person in my life who had, several times over the years, said things about Claire that I had dismissed as jealousy. She answered on the first ring. I told her everything. There was a long silence. How long have you known? She said finally. 1 week, I said. And you haven't said anything to either of them? No. Another silence. What do you need from me? She said. That, right there, is what love sounds like. My daughter was born 4 weeks later, on a Tuesday morning, 6 pounds 11 ounces. She had Daniel's nose and my stubbornness and a way of looking at you, even in those first hours, that made you feel like she was already taking notes. I named her Eleanor, after my grandmother, who had been the strongest person I had ever known. Daniel was in the delivery room. He held my hand. He cried when she arrived. He said things, genuine things. I believe about being a father, about her, about the moment. I let him have that, for her sake, not his. 3 days after I came home from the hospital, when Eleanor was sleeping and my mother was in the next room, and the house had the particular quiet of new parenthood, I sat across from Daniel at the kitchen table, and I told him what I had heard in that hallway. He did not deny it. I think when someone has been carrying something for 7 months, and the person they have been carrying it from finally speaks, the relief of putting it down overrides almost everything else. He confirmed it. All of it, 7 months, the guilt, the plan, after the baby, that he and Claire had apparently constructed together, as if my daughter's arrival was a logistical obstacle to be managed around. I listened to everything. Then I said, I need you to leave tonight. You can have access to Eleanor on a schedule we will arrange through my lawyer, but I need you out of this house tonight. He looked at me, at the woman he had underestimated so thoroughly that he had discussed her future in a room 30 feet away from her, at her own baby shower, and he nodded. He left within 2 hours. I sat in the quiet house with my 3-day-old daughter asleep on my chest and felt underneath the grief, underneath the exhaustion, underneath everything, the particular, unexpected solidity of someone who has done the hardest thing and is still standing. What came next was not easy. I will not pretend it was. Single parenthood is not a concept. It is 3 a.m. and a screaming baby and no one to hand her to. It is doing everything twice because there is only one of you. It is the particular loneliness of enormous love shared with no adult in the room. I did it, every day, with my sister who moved in for the first 3 months, with my mother, who showed up every Tuesday and Thursday without being asked, with a village of people who, when they heard what had happened, closed ranks around Eleanor and me with a fierceness that still makes me cry. Claire called once. 3 weeks after the shower, I did not answer. She left a voicemail, long, tearful, full of words like, I never meant, and I'm so sorry, and you're my best friend. I listened to it once. Then I deleted it. 16 years, a maid of honor, a godmother, deleted in 4 minutes and 30 seconds. That is not cruelty. That is clarity. Daniel and Claire, I learned through people we once shared, lasted approximately 5 months after the shower. What is built on a foundation of someone else's pain rarely survives long, enough to become something real. I felt nothing when I heard this. Not satisfaction, not grief, just a quiet, tired acknowledgement that the world had arranged itself, the way it usually does when people make choices that cost more than they estimated. Daniel is a present father. I want to be clear about that because Eleanor deserves for it to be said clearly. He shows up. He is involved. He loves her in the uncomplicated, genuine way that is, perhaps, the best thing he has given either of us. We are not friends. We are her parents. There is a difference, and we have both, slowly, learned to respect it. Eleanor is 14 months old now. She walks, and with the particular, determined wobble of someone who has decided that falling is temporary and forward is the only direction that matters. She has my stubbornness and her father's laugh and a smile that rearranges everything in whatever room she enters. She does not know yet what happened at her baby shower. She does not know what was said in a hallway 4 minutes after. I came out of a bathroom on a Saturday in April. One day I will tell her, not to burden her with it, but because I want her to know what her mother did in that hallway, how she straightened up, how she breathed, how she walked back into a room full of people and smiled for 2 more hours. And then, when the room was finally quiet, how she stood up. Here is what a baby shower and a hallway and 4 words taught me. The strongest thing you can do in the moment of your deepest betrayal is not react. It is breathe. It is stand up straight. It is walk back into the room. And it is give yourself the time and the space to respond, not from the worst moment of your pain, but from the clearest, most grounded version of yourself. My husband left me for my best friend. I found out at my own baby shower, and I walked back into that room, and I smiled. And I brought my daughter into the world 4 weeks later, and then, quietly, completely on my own terms, I rebuilt everything for her and for the woman I decided in that hallway to become. If this story reached you, if it opened something, and please share it right now with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe to this channel. Every week I bring you stories about the moments that change everything, and the people who choose, in those moments, to stand up straight. Eleanor deserves to know those people exist. So do you. I am always listening.